devastating natural disasters in our history, Jamaica did not experience an all-island blackout. Following the hurricane, 23% of customers retained service. This is as a result of investments in the grid, solid preparation for the hurricane, outstanding execution. Hurricane preparedness resulted in the proactive mobilization with additional linesmen and equipment on the ground before the hurricane made landfall. So just to put it in context, the JPS had a team of foreign contractors in the island before the hurricane hit. And subsequently, we brought 2 more sets of linesmen, approximately 300 linesmen with equipment that landed here. The linesmen landed here between the 15th of December and the 23rd of December. And the equipment, one set of equipment arrived here on the 27th of December and one on the 1st of January. So in real terms, the 300 linesmen that arrived there before Christmas couldn't do much because they didn't have their equipment.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel once again. This is Brian Reaction. So if you're coming across any of my videos for the first time, don't forget to subscribe, comment, like and share. So in today's video, I have a heated debate here for you from these two parties, the People's National Party, commonly known as PNP, and Jamaica Labour Party, JLP. So I wanted to watch this heated debate, and after that I'll be back with a few reactions.
However, when the equipment came, one company has been on the ground for 3 weeks and the other for 2 weeks. And this is what you are seeing as it relates to the recovery. What is even more interesting is that when I made a statement in this house, there were many on the opposite side that were totally against it, led by the leader of the opposition. And I can say happily that good sense has prevailed. Good sense has prevailed, and everybody is posting what the success is in Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth.
Minister.
Misleading, you take me a little now?
Turn the mic on.
The minister is misleading the House. The position of the opposition on that matter was that he had indicated that the necessary resources to restore the grid was $350 million US. And he came here to say that the government would be advancing essentially 100% of the cat bond proceeds to JPS as a loan, 150 million US, and he had nothing to say about the other 200, which he said was needed. And we were asking, how is it prudent to proceed in that way? He has flown off the handle, got extremely unpleasant about it, and has still not answered that question, incidentally. We were never against providing financing to JPS per se, but it was the absence of a proper coherent plan to fill a gap which he said existed. He said existed. And he has still not indicated what is the actual cost of restoring the grid. He has not said what the actual cost of restoring the grid is, but he's indicated that this 150 million seems to be adequate to do it. I don't know where the original $350 to $400 million US, which was what was being touted back then. What is the story with that, Minister?
Mr. Speaker, I would ask Hansard to be reviewed. When the statement was made that they were not in support of the $150 million until we knew where the rest of the money was coming, and therefore they did not want the $150 million to be dispersed so the people could get back light. The people want light. Mr. Speaker, let me put on record so I can done the argument once and for all. The $150 million that was asked for and lent is the only thing that is on the table at this time to this government. We have no discussion. Than the $150 million to bring back light by the end of January. That is the situation as of now. So until something comes to me, There is nothing that I can tell. What I can say without fear of contradiction, that if we had followed them, we would still be waiting on light till the end of this year because of their bad mind. Madam Speaker, let me indicate 2.5 months after the passage of a Category 5 hurricane, important milestones have been achieved despite extreme engineering challenges, access, and constraints. All major hospitals and health centers have been restored, ensuring continuity of essential health care. The Black River Hospital got back light on Christmas Day. There has been 93% overall restoration of all National Water Commission pumps and water treatment facilities supporting water security across Jamaica. And I say congratulations to my colleague Minister Samuda for his hard work and collaboration on this matter. Mr. Speaker, long-term system resilience is being strengthened, including the use of polecrete to improve resistance to pole uprooting, fiberglass components and transmission lines designed to withstand Category 5 conditions, and network redesigns to reduce cascading and domino-style failures. Restorations continue in Hanover, Westmoreland, St. James, Trelawney, and St. Elizabeth, where the work is focused on the most complex last-mile challenges. Mr. Speaker, I want to indicate that as a nation, we must be clear about the reality of the remaining work. In the Western region, what remains is not simply restoration. It is a redesign and rebuild. The final phase requires infrastructure redesign and full rebuilds, compounded by access challenges including new line routes, land access, installation of thousands of poles, and conductors stringing over long distances. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I went to Westmoreland on Thursday, and I witnessed 324 poles and 15 miles to get light to the Roaring River NWC station. That in itself is going to bring back approximately 50,000 customers in Westmoreland. Had to be done, despite the fact that when you connect NWC, you are only going to get about 1,000 other customers. You know why, Mr. Speaker? Out of the 51,000 customers that remain, about 21,000 are not ready to receive electricity because of the level of damage in their districts and their communities. So when I say that we're going to get 96% by the end of January, if you really look at it and take out the 21,000 that are not ready for electricity, we would be at almost full restoration in the timeline that the government gave when we loaned the money. We have gotten the performance that we desired, Mr. Speaker, despite the naysayers. So let me just indicate, Mr. Speaker, that we are on track and we are going to be in a position to reach there even quicker. Because if you recall, we had originally said January to end of February. But based on the work that has been done so far, we will use the month of February to try and get those 21,000 customers back up. And we're going to do it strategically, Mr. Speaker, because we're going to use a JSIF house rewiring. We're going to target those 21,000 customers to help them to get back like quicker. And we're going to use the grants that are going to be announced for rebuilding. We're going to target those grants from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security to those 21,000 customers in those communities, because I suspect that one of the reasons why they are not ready for electricity is because they don't have the resources to put their house in a position such as that. So, Mr. Speaker, in one instance, 40 miles of lines were rebuilt with over 1,000. 5 minutes, Mr. Speaker, 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, the member's time for speaking has expired. We ask that it be extended by 5 minutes.
The request is on the floor. Those in favor, those against, the ayes have it. Minister, you may continue. 5 minutes.
Forty miles were rebuilt with over 1,000 poles from Ferris to Cross to Hodges, Westmoreland to St. Elizabeth, to restore just 2,000 customers. Mr. Speaker, restoration decisions are guided by societal impact, not just customer count. The importance of Roaring River National Water Commission Pump Station reflects the prioritization of critical facilities in the restoration strategy. The restoration of services this facility requires the building of 340 poles. And as I said before, we will get approximately 50,000 customers. Mr. Speaker, this is the good news when I close. You'll recall that there was a first of its kind emergency mobile power generation solution implemented at Treasure Beach on December 15th, engineered to safely provide electricity under the unprecedented conditions. Fuel logistics, load management, and system protection were carefully planned, and specialized equipment, including transformers, required to achieve the correct voltage. These solutions are not limited to Treasure Beach and are now being supported by heightened engagement with members of Parliament. Darlington will shortly, by next week, benefit from a solution supporting health center, police station, tax office, and the Maud McClough High School and Darlington Town Square, Clifton Boys Home, and surrounding communities to ensure continuity of essential public services and economic activities. The Magotty Hydro plant was utilized to create a Magotty Island, which restored thousands of customers while the rebuild and transmission lines continue. So, Mr. Speaker, by visiting last week, I realized that Darlington is in the interior. So it would take many months to get there. So they are using a special generation to do Darlington while they work from the seaside coming up. So it's a two-pronged approach. Mr. Speaker, what I can say is, as of today, by January 15, 93% of customers are expected to have electricity restored. Restoration of the Roaring River pump in Westmoreland by January 15th, and the deployment of emergency mobile generation in Darlington the week of the 18th to the 24th. Continued partnership with local community leaders, members of Parliament, councillors, and leveraging local communication channels to provide updates on estimated restoration timelines will continue. The only thing that I will say, Mr. Speaker, that we are still not at yet, which I hope to be at shortly, is some kind of projection of those 50,000 customers in the communities as to when they can expect to get back light. It will be a projection, but it is required, because at this point in time, those 50,000 customers are the last mile. They are anxious. They see everybody else getting light around them and they don't have light, and all they want is some kind of estimation as to when will they get light. So I spoke to the JPS before coming here today, and they have told me that they will provide me with that and continue to update the members of Parliament and the councillors and the citizens in the various areas. So I expect to have that by close of business tomorrow. So, Madam Speaker, I will stop at that just to say both Flow and Digicel are almost fully back up, based on the fact that every time more customers and more areas get light, that helps them in terms of getting their systems back up. So, Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, let me thank the country, let me thank especially those persons hardest hit for their patience, for their confidence in a good government led by Andrew Michael Otis. Taking hard decisions and standing by them. But more importantly than the decisions is the monitoring to make sure that we get what was promised and committed to us on behalf of the Jamaican people. And I close by saying, commitment made, commitment kept. Help continues to be on the way. May God bless Jamaica, land we love.
Member from Kingston East and Port Royal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I would like to join with the House Leader who earlier welcomed back members to this segment of the term for this financial year, and also to extend best wishes to the Deputy Prime Minister, who we haven't seen in a while. We hope that he will be fully restored. He's doing well, very, very, very well. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Energy has reported, and I believe a bit prematurely, because in his last statement, we were told that the government was going to commit some resources, 150 million US dollars, to enable JPSCO to achieve full restoration of our country by the end of January. So sometimes we hear February creeping, but yeah. But I will give the minister the benefit of the doubt. And listen, we take no pleasure in people experiencing darkness. We want Jamaica to have a fully restored grid, and 100% of our people having access to electricity. And at no time did we berate the government for trying to assist in the funding. What we had a difficulty with was the arrangement that we were told about. And we still have a problem with it, because what the minister has said today is that those 50,000 customers in Westmoreland and elsewhere are not going to get their electricity.
By the end of January, 30 of the 51,000 will have back light. It is the 21,000 that is not ready to receive light that we have to work with through JSIF, through MLSS, and through whoever else to get them in a position. You're not even in the parish, so shut your mouth. You're in Clarendon, you have all of your light already. Shut your mouth. So, Mr. Speaker, the member is misleading the House. 30,000 of the 51,000 will get back light. And the other 21,000 we will work with as quickly as possible.
Minister.
But it is beyond.
Minister.
It is. I'm on a point of order.
He's already on a point of order.
You sit down.
He's already on a point of order.
Down.
He's already on a point of order.
Madam, sit down. I am on a point of order.
He's on a point of order.
I'm not yielding. Order, and I'm not yielding.
What is the what?
I'm on a point of order.
No,
He's already on a point of order.
Here. You happy? You happy? You happy? You happy? Yeah, me say if you're happy. Yeah? Well, Mr. Speaker, Mr.
Members.
Speaker. Mr.
Members.
Speaker. Can you turn on my
Members.
mic? It's not on. It's red. Mr. Speaker.
Let me just address the situation. There's a certain decorum that we are accustomed to in this house. And if we go outside of that, then there are rules and guidelines that we can use to bring it back. Do not allow us to go down that road. The minister rose on a point of order. The minister rose on a point of order. And you allow him to continue. If you continue to go down that road, then we will use the standing order accordingly. Continue, Mr. Minister. Turn the mic on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will say it again for clarification. The 51,000 that are out as of now, 21,000 are not ready for electricity. We are going to use the rest of this month to work with the 30,000 customers who do not have light, who can be restored at the shortest possible time. What I am saying, to make it clear, is that we have no control over that 21,000. JPS can only move when the infrastructure is in place. And we're going to use JSIF, and we're going to use Ministry of Labor and Social Security, Ministry of Local, whichever government collaboration we can do to target that 21,000 in those 4 parishes. We will do so, our 5 parishes, Mr. Speaker. I thank you for your understanding, and I hope now that the matter has been cleared of the mischief and the misleading commentary.
Member from Kingston Eastern and Port Royal. Okay.
Mr. Speaker, the minister, while he was speaking on the mic, officially told us on the side to shut him out. And I heard nothing coming from you as Speaker of the House to call him to books. I believe that the uneven application of the rules is totally unacceptable. And this message to the students.
Detective Raven, this is the Mercy Capital Court, powered by artificial intelligence. You're charged with the murder of your wife.
Member from St. Andrew South. Member from St. Andrew Southwestern. You're raised on a point of order. You made a statement, but yet you're the same one that when you sit down, you continue to do the same thing. If you're no, you're not. Stop. Because you're doing the same very thing. You're having a side chat. You notice I'm waiting for all of you to have your say? Because you do not have the floor, and you continue to do the same very thing. Member from Kingston Eastern and Port Royal, you may continue.
Order. Mr. Speaker, on the 25th of November, the minister had announced that for the provision of the $150 million, the government will be ensuring full restoration of electricity by January, February I have a copy of the statement right here. It says full restoration. It says full restoration. January, February. So the question is, yes, the question is, are we on track to achieve that? Because the information that I have received, and we take no glee in this, is that we are not going to be able to get 100% restoration before April, based on what is necessary to carry out the so-called last mile restoration. So, Minister, I want to go back, therefore, to that discussion we had in Parliament on that day, when we were told that the full amount that it will cost the JPSCO to restore electricity was $350 million, US dollars. I think the country deserves an explanation. I don't think a minister can come here and give that amount of money and not reflect on that, not come back to say to us it was a bad estimate and that it was in fact 150 million. It requires some explanation. It requires some explanation. And we are insisting on that. We are insisting on that. The minister had also mentioned, the minister had also mentioned that in lieu of that 150 million, the government has set certain terms in the agreement, in the loan agreement. And we have not yet seen a copy of that, and I'm hoping that the Parliament will be able to see a copy of the loan agreement so that we can put it to full scrutiny of the Jamaican people, so we know that we're getting value for our money. Again, I want to commend the workers of JPSCO. I want to commend the workers, right? I want to commend the people for the patience that they have displayed. Right? I want to commend the representatives of the people who have been working alongside JPSCO to ensure orderly restoration. And I'm really hoping that we'll be able to meet that deadline. But I suspect, Minister, we're looking at April. Perhaps you can clarify that. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Member from Westmoreland Eastern.
Thank you very much. I didn't make a first one. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, through you to the Minister, sir. In the statement on page 5, it says that in one instance, 40 miles of lines were rebuilt with over 1,000 poles from Ferris Cross to Hodges, Westmoreland to St. Elizabeth, to restore approximately 2,000 customers. Is the minister aware that that is a proposal and that has not yet taken place? There is no rebuilding of lines that has taken place from Ferris to Hodges in St. Elizabeth. To go further, Mr. Speaker, there is not one customer of JPS in Eastern Westmoreland that is currently with electricity. What? Not one. Of the 17,000 persons, customers in Westmoreland that are currently without electricity, over 10,000 of them are from Eastern Westmoreland. Approximately 60% of them are from Eastern Westmoreland. They say the substation is paradise to come so you can service Darliston and Betheltown and other areas up in the hill. And then from Magati so you can service Whitehouse and other areas down on the flat. They have a proposal to do that restoration. But as of today, there is no customer in Eastern Westmoreland with electricity supply by the JPS. None. Not one. Not one single solitary one. One dege. None. No. Mr. Speaker, I met with Mr. Hugh Grant. I met with Mr. Hugh Grant, the CEO of JPS, and a group of members from JPS who are currently stationed at Sanders in the White House Division in Eastern Westmoreland, and they went through and gave a full presentation to myself, the member from Western Westmoreland, and the member from Central Westmoreland. Right? No. The plan is to put a generator in Darliston so that you can serve the school, the police station, the health center, tax office, and I've asked them to go down as well to Clifton Boys Home. That is a plan to do so. We will still not have any electricity up in Bethelto. When we say that there are persons who are not ready to receive light, that is true. And that is also not new. That is certainly not a Christopher Columbus moment. Because we said it from day one here that over 5,000 houses were totally destroyed. As a matter of fact, the member from Western Westmoreland was criticized and accused of crying crocodile tears when he said, why not take the money to rebuild the houses because you can't give light to people who don't have houses. No. The minister said in his statement as well that 21,000 persons are not ready to receive and that JSIF will be working with them. Now, as far as I am aware, not ready to receive means that the structure is not in place. What JSIF wrote to us about are for persons who already have a structure in place and would not apply to that 21,000. It would not apply to the 21,000 who don't have any structure. It would apply to the persons who need wiring of a structure. That is totally different. It is easy. Easy, Mr. Speaker. It is easy. It is easy for members in here who have constituencies with electricity.
Member.
It is easy for members who have electricity to say anything they feel like.
I do understand your emotions. I do understand. But I do allow me to speak because I am speaking now. I understand your emotion as it relates to representing the people. But the spokesperson made his presentation. I am now asking you just to concentrate and focus on the questions and not to make a presentation. All right?
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Continue with the questions.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. I have the privilege of representing the people of Eastern Westmoreland. And I think when they elected a representative, they elected one from among them to go out and make representation on their behalf. It is easy, Mr. Speaker, for members who are not affected to laugh and say anything they feel like. It is much different when you have an entire constituency of over 30,000 persons who currently do not have electricity. It is totally different. It's affecting their households, it's affecting their businesses, it's affecting their livelihood, and the idea that we put a generator in Darliston is one that is welcome. Can we also put a generator in Betheltown so that the residents within Betheltown can also benefit from electricity? Because it is not true that all of them are not ready to receive electricity. There are persons there who are ready to receive electricity. But the plan, Mr. Speaker, is how long, the question is, how long will it take us to restore the electricity from the substation in Magati so that the people from White House going all the way down to Cave can receive electricity? And how long will it take us to continue the extension from Paradise so that we can go through the areas in central Westmoreland and get into eastern Westmoreland, because we're currently not even at the border of eastern Westmoreland. It is unacceptable, Mr. Speaker, that one constituency in Jamaica has 0 persons who currently have electricity. Unacceptable.
Indicate very clearly that the information that I've shared today is coming to me directly from the management of the Jamaica Public Service. I will be addressing PostCab tomorrow morning, and I undertake to give a response, informed response, to the questions that have been raised here today. And let me just make a clarification, very important clarification. Westmoreland has 34,603 customers. 17,096 are out, or 49%. The government of Jamaica does a lot of good things, but what we could not do is direct where Melissa made landfall. And therefore, a lot of what is being said here is not because of any other reason of the geographic location of the landing and the damage that was done. So when a member says that it's unreasonable for one constituency to be out of light, the fact of the matter is that our plan will bring back light much quicker than any other plan which was going to take us to the end of the year. Let us not forget that for a moment. Secondly, let me indicate very clearly that those houses and communities that are ready to receive light, we will continue to restore between the 13th of January today, straight back to the 30th of January. At which point we'll have a better idea as to the projection of those that are not ready for light. So again, I want to clarify, because the member makes it seem as if that the work has stopped today. Restoration continues. Restoration continues and will continue. What I cannot say is, when will the 21,000 customers who are not ready for light? I cannot answer that question today. But as the time goes by between now and the 30th of January, we will be able to get a clearer vision on that. So I fully understand the sentiment of a member of parliament in a crisis like this, because I myself is a 5-time straight serving MP, so I know it. Been there, done that. So all I'm saying, let us be reasonable, let us be rational, because whatever you say the performance of the restoration of electricity in this country after Hurricane Melissa is nothing short of miraculous. And we will continue to create the miracles as we go along. And the good thing is that there's a command center in White House, real time, where the members of parliament and the councils and the mayor and the stakeholders have full access. That never happened by chance. That happened by a direction from me as a member of parliament, knowing the trials and tribulations, so that you have access at the top to be able to get updates to give your constituents. So let us not go apart from that. We will continue, Mr. Speaker, and everything that has been raised today will be responded to tomorrow morning at postcard. And if there's anything that comes up after that, you are feel free to send me any message. And if the information that I've gotten is not correct, and I find that out tomorrow, I'll be the first one to withdraw and apologize for the bad information that I was given to send on to the country. That's how I operate every day, all day.
Member from Westmoreland Eastern.
Mr. Speaker, just so that the records show what was actually said. At no time, clarification to something. At no time did I accuse the JPS of stopping the work, which was said just now. At no time. To the contrary, Mr. Speaker, I said that I met with the CEO and his team, and I said that they have a command center from which they gave me an update. That is what I said. The minister also made reference to the trajectory of the storm and where it landed. I'm happy that we are now concluding that it did make landfall in eastern Westmoreland, because that is something that we have denied for quite a while. And, Mr. Speaker, it doesn't matter about the geographical location. A generator can be placed in Betheltown. It can be done, sir. Right? It can be done. And 150 million US can buy a generator for the people in Betheltown.
Mr. Speaker, I figure because it is the start of the year, you have been rather lenient. I speak from a constituency. I speak from a constituency that was also tremendously damaged. With that said, the order of the House has to be maintained. The member is quite capable and has shown that he is quite capable of asking questions. Anytime he does not do that, he elects not to do that, it is to push other agendas that should not be allowed. And I am saying that I am not imputing motive. If you just allow me, the agenda is clearly to make a statement. And I'm saying the member is quite capable of asking these things as questions. And I'm saying to say to the members, I'm saying to say to the members to ask the questions simply so that we can continue. I'll respond off mic. He's been trying a long time, but it now work. Now go work, remember. We will now have a statement from the Minister of Water, Environment and Climate Change. No.
Before the minister takes his turn to make his presentation, there are a number of persons, a number of members. Member from St. Andrew East Central, you do not have the floor. Will you take your seat? The member from Portland Eastern, mic is on. Minister, you don't have the floor as yet. Member from Portland Eastern, your mic was on for a while. Go ahead.
My mic was on.
Mr. Speaker, the minister has taken flight, so I'm not sure if I should still ask the question for the purpose of the record, because I don't have all.
The member from St. Andrew East Central. I will advise you, sir, you don't need to shout across the floor. Your mic is on now. I recognize you. You can now speak.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I had 4 questions for the minister, and the minister has left. And my mic was on for a prolonged period. How do I treat with this?
You had some question to be directed at the minister that you said left?
Yes.
You can ask a question.
So, Mr. Speaker.
Your mic, House Leader. Mike, your mic.
Mr. Speaker, let me apologize. I think because of the intervention, the minister may have thought that the matter was at a close. I know, and I'll tell you why I'm speculating. As the House is aware, the original order of statements would have had the Minister of Energy last. The Minister of Energy indicated to me that he had another engagement, and as such asked that he be moved up. So, no, seriously, I asked that he be moved up. So I'm saying, in the circumstances where he had indicated that there was another engagement and where I had intervened, maybe the wrong impression was given. But clearly there are other avenues that members can get their questions answered by the minister.
Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to update this Honorable House and the Jamaican people on the impact of Hurricane Melissa on our forest ecosystems, and to outline the decisive and science-based actions being taken by the Government of Jamaica to rehabilitate and strengthen our forests in the face of climate change. Mr. Speaker, it is very important to remind the nation where we were prior to October 2025, so we may understand the significance of the impact on our forests. The Forestry Department, having completed the land use and land cover assessment using data collected up to 2023, had reported previously that forest cover in Jamaica had been increasing steadily year on year and had increased by a remarkable 7% up to that point. What that meant was that 47% of our land of wood and water was at that point covered by forests. Madam Speaker, or Mr. Speaker's apologies, the House should note that the forest cover figures being referenced are grounded in Jamaica's RED+ measurement, reporting and verification framework, which is on the screen before members. Forest loss and degradation were assessed using high-resolution satellite imagery, change detection analysis, and on-the-ground field verification carried out by trained forestry teams across over 300 assessment sites. This combination of remote sensing and field-based data
collection ensures that the figures before us are credible, transparent, and consistent with international climate reporting standards. The government has committed to expand the country's protected areas network to approximately 30% by the year 2030, commonly referred to as the 30 by 30 target. At present, Jamaica has declared approximately 24% of its landmass as protected under law, including the Cockpit Country Protected Area, the country's single largest terrestrial protected area, which spans approximately 78,000 hectares. The National Environment and Planning Agency is currently working on the declaration of 5 new protected areas under the Natural Resources Conservation Act in the 2026-27 fiscal year. That will include the Long Mountain, Canoe Valley in Clarendon and Manchester, Bengal in St. Anne, Montpelier in St. James, and sections of Negril in Hanover and Westmoreland. Additionally, the Forestry Department has declared 16 new forestry management areas under the Forest Act, and with an additional one to be declared in the upcoming fiscal year. The department is also working with the ministry on the declaration of 17 new forest reserves. These new protected areas will advance the country's achievement of the 30 by 30 target. On the 28th of October, Hurricane Melissa crossed our island with sustained winds and a destructive force that tested not only our infrastructure, but the very natural systems that protect our watersheds, our coastlines, our communities, our people, and our livelihoods. Jamaica's forests, our first and most formidable line of defense against flooding, landslides, drought, and biodiversity loss, were significantly affected. Mr. Speaker, the data is sobering. Between November and December 2025, the Forestry Department conducted more than 300 rapid forest damage assessments island-wide, covering approximately 528,000 hectares of forested land, including forest reserves, the forest management units, and privately owned forested areas. These assessments are not anecdotal. They are systematic, field-based, and guided by internationally accepted methodologies. The findings confirmed that Hurricane Melissa carved a west to northwest corridor of destruction across Jamaica, with western, central, and parts of northern parishes bearing the brunt of the damage. In several forests, Mr. Speaker, particularly those on steep terrain and shallow soils, damage levels reached between 76 and 100%. This level of destruction was characterized by complete canopy loss, uprooted mature trees, fractured trunks, and slope instability. Mr. Speaker, it is sobering to note that disturbed broadleaf forests were hardest hit, with over 42,000 hectares degraded, accounting for more than 30% of all recorded damage. Secondary forest areas of regeneration from anthropogenic damage followed closely, with our urban tree cover declined by 26%, and even our mangrove ecosystems critical to coastal protection suffered nearly 24% degradation. With respect to mangrove, the data confirms that approximately 23% of our mangrove forests sustained damage, primarily from wind throw, sediment displaced, and prolonged inundation. The key mangrove complexes in Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, St. Elizabeth, and Westmoreland experienced a 90% of trees showing evidence of uprooting, canopy loss, and severe defoliation. These structural changes have direct implications for shoreline protection, nursery habitat for fish and invertebrates, and coastal carbon stocks. That is why mangrove restoration has been prioritized within the national response, including targeted replanting at the Parity and other vulnerable wetlands, using species and techniques proven to stabilize shorelines and accelerate natural recovery. Importantly, Mr. Speaker, the assessments have revealed that approximately 51% of impacted forests experienced moderate to severe damage, defined by canopy loss exceeding half of pre-hurricane cover, broken and uprooted trees, exposed soils, and compromised watershed function. This level of forest loss has real immediate and potentially catastrophic consequences. These consequences include increased water insecurity, increase of flood and landslide risks, undermining of biodiversity, and threatens years of public investment of reforestation long-term climate resilience, and environmental stewardship. Mr. Speaker, this Andrew Holness-led government has never shirked from our responsibilities. We do not respond to crisis with hesitation, but with action. Informed by these assessments, the Forestry Department has developed the Relief Initiative, Reforestation, Ecological Enhancement, and Landscape Framework, which will now serve as Jamaica's national operational framework for not only post-Hurricane Melissa forest recovery, but importantly, long-term resilience building. Relief is not a one-size-all program. It is a targeted, tiered approach that prioritizes interventions based on severity of damage, watershed and ecological importance, risk to communities and infrastructure, and operational feasibility. Mr. Speaker, under Phase 1 between January and June 2026, the Forestry Department will replant some 300,000 seedlings, with more than 170,000 directed to priority watersheds, with some 50,000 within urban and peri-urban areas. Importantly, no less than 30,000 of these trees will be fruit trees, ensuring that ecological restoration goes hand in hand with food security, livelihoods, and community resilience. Through partnerships, and here I pause to recognize the sterling contribution of Trees That Feed, a US-based nonprofit led by a patriotic son and daughter of Jamaica, land we love, has already provided a US $50,000 grant to supply approximately 12,000 fruit trees this year, which will be complemented by our own production from our national nurseries to supply at no cost species such as breadfruit, ackee, mango, avocado, and jackfruit, all of which will anchor not only our expanded agroforestry strategy, but also commitment to climate resilience through the National Tree Planting Initiative, Phase 2, which was originally intended to plant some 3 million trees over the next 5 years, but now is being rescoped and redesigned to do much more, much faster. Honorable members, we are also turning adversity into opportunity. Hurricane Melissa has accelerated the expansion and rescoping of our agroforestry program, allowing us to systematically integrate fruit trees into mixed systems with the sustainable rehabilitation of damaged landscapes, strengthening both ecological outcomes and rural livelihoods. Mr. Speaker, to support this scale intervention, the Forestry Department is advancing plans for expanded nursery capacity, including the establishment of additional nursery capacity in Western Jamaica, with sites under assessment in St. James, St. Elizabeth, and Westmoreland. This will increase national seedling production by at least 20% per annum and significantly improve logistical efficiency in the execution of rehabilitation and reforestation efforts in the most impacted regions. This expansion of nursery capacity aligns directly with commitments outlined by the Prime Minister in his 2025 budget presentation, where provision was made for the expansion of the Forestry Department's nursery capacity to strengthen Jamaica's reforestation and climate resilience agenda. Mr. Speaker, this brings me to the National Tree Planting Initiative, Phase 2. Having successfully delivered on our earlier commitment to plant some 3 million trees, admittedly it took a little longer based on the impact of the pandemic than we had hoped. This government has sought to build on the lessons learned and has recommended a national tree planting initiative, has recommitted rather, to a national tree planting initiative Phase 2 to plant an additional 3 million trees. This initiative will be fully integrated into the Relief Framework and will serve as a cornerstone of our long-term forest recovery strategy. Under the NTPI-2, which originally projected the galvanization of a second round of national effort to plant 3 million trees over the next 5 years to reinforce our national commitment to watershed protection, biodiversity conservation, urban greening, and climate adaptation. We now commit to achieving the target in less time, and we are confident that we will do so based on the overwhelming response from the Jamaican people who are volunteering in the hundreds to participate in replanting exercises. The official NTPI-2 launch will take place between the 29th of January and the 2nd of February 2026, with targeted planting activities across forest reserves, private lands, mangrove ecosystems, and urban centers, from Low River in Trelawney to Croydon Estate and Kew Park in St. James, to Parity in St. Elizabeth, and communities such as Black River and Savlamar. These locations are not merely symbolic, they are strategic, representing the integrated approaches government is taking, linking forests to water, sustainable land husbandry, climate resilience to food security, national policy, and most importantly, community action. Honorable members, climate...
House Leader.
2 minutes. Just 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, we ask that the Speaker be given another 2 minutes to complete his presentation.
The request is on the floor. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it, Minister.
Honorable members, thank you, members. Honorable members, climate change is no longer a future threat, it's our present and unshakable reality. But this is Jamaica. We have never, nor will ever be passive. Through relief, through NTPI2, through expanded nursery capacity, community partnerships, and volunteer mobilization, we are rebuilding stronger, smarter, and more resilient forest landscapes. In the new financial year, the Forestry Department will focus on the implementation of the National Mangrove and Swamp Management Plan, working closely with key stakeholders on the restoration of the island's mangrove forests. This will complement implementation of the National Ecosystem Restoration Plan being led by NEPA. The government will also prioritize mainstreaming ecosystem-based and nature-based solutions in recovery planning. In this regard, forests and wetlands will be among the core risk reduction measures in Melissa-affected watersheds and coastal zones, explicitly valuing ecosystem services in economic analyses and national climate adaptation strategies, implemented through multi-stakeholder partnerships and long-term stewardship. Mr. Speaker, this is how we honor the legacy of our forefathers, and this is how we build and protect Jamaica, which is not only our desire, but certainly our destiny. This is how we safeguard our water, our land, our forests, our food systems, and our future. And this is how we honor the responsibility to generations yet to come. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member from St. Mary Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to start by congratulating the Minister on his ascendancy to the presidency of the 8th session of the United Nations Environment Assembly. Congratulations. Any positive development on the global stage redounds to the benefit of all Jamaicans, and so we celebrate with you. Minister, this statement isn't controversial. There isn't much, if anything, in it that you will find objection from this side. I visited in St. Elizabeth, the cockpit country myself, and I've seen firsthand the devastation on just the forestry. In fact, residents were telling me that areas that I could see a clear view, generally for decades they've never seen what the other side of forests look like. What I want to know, though, Minister, is whether any consideration is given to mobilizing just members of the population who might be interested in not the national tree planting project, but the reforestation project. Because this is a major undertaking, and I suspect you may not be able to readily find the resources from your budget to lead the full recovery with 51% of loss in terms of forestry areas. So I'm wondering whether any attempt will be made to just mobilize the general population, those who are interested in any event, to volunteer and to assist with the tree planting. Another question, Minister. I note the move to plant fruit trees as a part of the forestry program. And even though I suspect the professionals at forestry would have considered it, I also want to ensure that we're considering the local ecosystems and the things that life in those ecosystems generally depend on, to ensure we're not replacing trees with trees that might create additional harm. But as stated at the beginning, you have my full support in terms of replanting and rebuilding the forestry and the environment on a whole. One love.
Minister, I have one question for you. I'm aware that the effect of Melissa in relation to our forests includes the extensive creation of bio-waste, meaning branches, leaves that were broken, trunks of trees snapped, etc. So on the forest floor, you have an excessive amount of wooden detritus, wooden waste. And the risks of forest fires, bushfires, from that waste which is lying there and which will be, over time, degenerating into, drying out and becoming more and more flammable, is a real risk. And I was wondering whether there's any strategy for trying to address that, the heightened risk of forest fires in our forest areas as a result of what Melissa has left behind. I know that we've had problems with bushfires, in the St. Andrew Hills and so on for many years, but this seems to be a particularly extraordinary situation. And if you fly over the forest, you see it there on the forest floor, and it's very striking because of the extent of it. So I was wondering what your thoughts are on that issue.
Oh, sorry, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and acknowledge your congratulations and thank you for your warm words related to the Union presidency. Very short in response, I would have just shared with the member from Central St. Mary the details related to the process to volunteer for the Replant Jamaica initiative. We have benefited from over 1,000 Jamaicans who have signed up through the forestry website, and there are also several hundred who have signed up through the initiative being led by Minister Grange for replanting initiatives to come. So you are right, it will require all hands on deck, and we'll keep you in the loop. So certainly, as is usual, the youth groups of both political parties will engage in environmental stewardship when the time is right. We've taken great care to analyze the ecosystems, and we won't plant anything that is harmful to the standard ecosystems by area in those areas. A lot of the fruit trees, as we've found, certainly from a demand standpoint, tend to go into the urban areas and peri-urban areas. That's where you have the greatest demand, and people do rush to get them where they have land space to plant. I think good observation from the leader of the opposition related to the bio-waste. This is particularly concerning, not just for fire, but because of the nature of our geography. Many of our weep holes, especially in the cockpit country, can be blocked, and that can stop water absorption. So it creates a risk for water insecurity, land slippage, and it's a challenge all around. The scale of the devastation doesn't allow any boutique solutions. We are at risk for fires, at risk for blockage of some of our aquifers being recharged, and will be so for a prolonged period. Now, we're not sitting back and not doing anything. We've engaged our partners in the international community and are designing a solution. At the appropriate time, I'll share that solution with the House. But I do want to acknowledge that there is significant risk, Mr. Speaker, to increased forest fires, which is why we're happy with the recent rains, because this is usually the dry season, because we are at risk from forest fires at a significant increased rate. And that is shown in our bushfire warning index. which was designed as one of our climate change projects and is housed at the Jamaica Fire Brigade. I also want to acknowledge the help from the Fire Brigade, Minister Mackenzie, with the Forestry Department for the assessment process that we are undertaking with this. But for members' knowledge and just in closing, that bushfire warning index would have been launched approximately 3 years ago, and it has significantly reduced response time from the Fire Brigade to our forest fires. So even your fires that you normally have in the coffee districts, etc., they've been able to, over the last 2-3 years, even in very bad droughts, been able to respond much faster. But we expect that to be tested significantly over the next 3 to 4 years. And I do share your concern, and there isn't a silver bullet in resolving that. But I do thank members for their questions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
House Leader. Sorry. Announcement.
Laid on the table of the House are the following: the National Housing Trust, Housing Benefits, Special Selection, Juno Crescent Housing Project Order 2025 under the National Housing Trust Act, Annual Report of the Bath Fountain Hotel for the year 2021-2022, Annual Report and Audited Financial Statements of the Montego Bay Convention Center for the financial year 2021-2022, Annual Report and Audited Financial Statements of the Jamaica Promotions Corporation, JAMPRO, for the year 2023-2024, Auditor General's Department Annual Report 2025, Auditor General's Department Performance Audit Report, ensuring value for money in the public health procurement at the University Hospital of the West Indies, Independent Commission of Investigation, Second Quarterly Report 2025, April to June 2025, Independent Commission of Investigation, Third Quarterly Report 2025, July to September 2025, investigation into concerns that Ms. Sashina Fuller, a securities analyst employed to the Financial Services Commission, failed to file her statutory declarations with the Commission for the year 2023, contrary to law. Investigation report into concerns that Ms. Tamika Applick, a securities analyst employed to the Financial Services Commission, failed to file her statutory declarations with the Commission for the year 2023, contrary to law. And also, members, the Honorable Speaker of the House, the Most Honorable Juliet Holness, wishes to give formal notice of her absence from this sitting of the House of Representatives on account of her traveling overseas on official business. Thank you.
Bills brought from the Senate, petitions, papers, report from committees, notices of motion given orally. Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move to introduce and have read a first time a bill shortly entitled the Financial Administration and Audit Amendment Act 2026. I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take first reading of the bill.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move to introduce and have read a first time a bill shortly entitled the Jury Amendment Act 2026. I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take first reading of the bill.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next sitting of the House, I intend to move the following motion. Whereas Jamaica's core utility networks, specifically telecommunication systems, electricity grids, and potable water infrastructure collectively constitute essential national assets, indispensable to public safety, national security, economic stability, health, disaster response, and the functioning of key institutions, including hospitals, emergency services, financial systems, schools, and public administration. And whereas there has been a marked and troubling increase in incidents of theft, vandalism, sabotage, and unlawful interference targeting telecommunications infrastructure, electricity distribution systems, and water supply assets, resulting in service outages, economic loss, threats to life, disruption of emergency operations, and reduced national resilience. And whereas acts of theft or interference with these essential utilities are currently prosecuted primarily under general criminal provisions, such as simple larceny, conversion, and malicious destruction of property, which do not adequately reflect the grave national implications, economic impact, and public safety risks created by such offenses. And whereas the penalties available within the ordinary criminal and summary jurisdiction framework, particularly at the level of the parish courts, are insufficient to deter sophisticated or organized criminal activity directed at utility infrastructure. And whereas international standards in comparable jurisdictions recognize electricity, telecommunications, and water systems as critical infrastructure requiring sector-specific legislation, elevated penalties, specialized offenses, and enhanced investigative power, including models such as Australia's Security of Critical Infrastructure Act framework, Taiwan's Critical Infrastructure Reforms, and the US's Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Act protections. And whereas Jamaica's vulnerability to hurricanes, natural disasters, cyber threats, and national emergencies require the uninterrupted functioning and robust protection of electricity supply, telecommunications networks, and water systems, be it resolved that this Honorable House formally declares Jamaica's electricity, telecommunications, and water networks to be critical national infrastructure, essential to public safety, national development, and disaster resilience. Be it further resolved that this Honorable House calls upon the government to undertake, as a matter of urgency, a comprehensive review of the legislative and regulatory framework relating to the protection of utility infrastructure, with particular focus on electricity, telecommunications, and water systems. Be it further resolved that such review include consideration of, one, the creation of comprehensive sector-specific legislation to be styled the Critical National Utility Infrastructure Protection Act or similar. Two, the establishment of specialized offenses relating to theft, sabotage, vandalism, damage, or unlawful interference with electricity, telecommunications, or water infrastructure, with penalties commensurate with the national risks posed. Three, designating such offenses as indictable only triable in the Supreme Court, thereby enabling the application of appropriate sentencing powers and investigative processes for complex or organized criminal actions. Four, enhancing investigative and enforcement mechanisms, including mandatory coordination among the Jamaica Constabulary Force, Ministry of National Security, Ministry of Science, Energy, Telecoms, and Transport, Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, the Office of Utility Regulations, and the affected utility operators. And five, reviewing and strengthening the regulatory framework governing the scrap metal industry to reduce illicit markets that incentivize theft of utility assets. Six, benchmarking legislative options against international critical infrastructure protection models and incorporating relevant best practices. And be it further resolved that this Honorable House recommends that a joint select committee be convened to receive submissions from the operators of the electricity, telecommunications, and water sectors, to receive expert input from regulators, law enforcement, legal specialists, and civil society stakeholders, examine the national economic, security, and disaster resilience implications of utility infrastructure vulnerability, and report to the House with recommendations for comprehensive and modernized legislation to strengthen the protection of Jamaica's critical national utility infrastructure.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move the following motions. Be it resolved that notwithstanding Standing Order 68.3 and in accordance with Standing Orders numbers 68.1K, 73D, this Honorable House appoints the Integrity Commission Oversight Committee, comprising the following members: Pernell Charles Jr., Delroy Chuck, Audrey Marks, Marissa Dalrymple Filbert, Matthew Samuda, Julian Robinson, Dayton Campbell, and Angela Brown Burke. Be Integrity Oversight. Be it resolved that this Honorable House appoint a select committee comprising of the following members: the Honorable Olivia Grange, Mr. Andrew Morris, Mrs. Marlene Malahoo Fort, Mrs. Juliet Cuthbert Flynn, Ms. Joyce Denise Daly, Dr. Angela Brown Burke, to sit jointly with a similar committee to be appointed by the Senate to consider and report its findings to this Honorable House on the act entitled the Domestic Violence Act. Mr. Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of standing orders to enable me to take these motions.
Question and answers to questions. Motion that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice. Motion relating to sitting of the House. Motion for leave to introduce bills. Presentation of bills. Presentation of bills without leave of the House first obtained.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the first reading of a bill shortly entitled the Financial Administration and Audit Amendment Act 2026.
Members, the question is that the standing orders be suspended to allow the minister to take the first reading of the bill. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that a bill shortly entitled the Financial Administration and Audit Amendment Act 2026 be read a first time.
A bill shortly entitled the Financial Administration and Audit Amendment Act 2026 read for a first time.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of second reading of the bill.
Members, Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the first reading of a bill shortly entitled the Jury Amendment Act 2026.
Members, the question is that the standing order be suspended to allow the minister to take the first reading of the bill. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it. Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that a bill shortly entitled the Jury Amendment Act 2026 be read the first time.
A bill shortly entitled the Jury Amendment Act 2026 read for a first time.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of second reading of the bill.
Public business.
Mr. Speaker, I now move for the suspension of standing orders to enable me to take the motions, notice of which I gave earlier.
The question is that the House, The question is that the standing order be suspended to enable the minister to take the motion, notice of which he gave earlier. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the two notices have to treat with the appointment of the Integrity Commission Oversight Committee and also the members that will sit jointly with members of the Senate in relation to the review of the Domestic Violence Act. I ask that the motions be approved.
The question is that the motion be approved. Sorry? The question is that the motions be approved. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, we had started debate on the motions moved by the member from St. Catherine Southwestern. And it is the intention to conclude those debates today. I do see an indication from the opposition, the member from St. Andrew Southwest, that she will be contributing to the debate. If there are any other members, we'll take them now. We also have the member from St. Mary Central, and then we will move to have the member from St. Catherine Southwestern close the debate on the motions. There are 7 motions which have been moved. The members could indicate what motion. There are 7 motions which have been moved. The member wants to close all of them today, but you could just highlight which motion you're speaking on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to start with just a couple of comments as it relates to number 2, motion number 2, which has to do with the amendment to the Representation of the People's Act. I want to say that it is obvious that the member has taken some time to look at the process of election and to look at some of those areas that are troublesome and that need attention. I must say that for the second one, which is the one I'm talking about, which really deals with introducing other implements other than the black lead pencil to be used to make a mark for the candidate, and also where it refers to also introducing other marks that could signal the choice of candidates. I must say that I vehemently oppose both, and I'll tell you why. At first glance, it sounds like something that makes sense and that is easy to do. However, in my head, I am still very clear of the Jamaica in which I live. And I am also very clear that we still talk about the golden ballot. We still talk about individuals who pay persons to come in and vote a particular way. And who, no, I tell you, Moran Bay teaches me well. No, Moran Bay by-election teaches me well. And it wasn't on this side that those things were happening. So let us be very clear, very clear. And so my concern, Mr. Speaker, is that we could be in an election, for example, like the by-election in Moran Bay, and individuals from the other side pay voters to go into the polling station and to make a mark in a particular way. Because we have now would have made the changes for a specific mark to be used. It would then clearly identify, let's say, of the 20 persons that you have targeted to get a vote in a particular way, you would be able to say 18 of them delivered because they had that specific mark, or because they went in and used a specific implement. I believe that the trust that in the last, certainly in the last election, has been severely damaged is not one that will allow me to vote in favor of this motion. So that is two. As it relates to number 3, again, it is around changes to the ROPA, where it asks for changes as it relates to the outdoor agents. I do agree that some changes are required. The first one being a general understanding of the limits for the outdoor agents and where they stay, and the fact that they can't be too far away. Yes, I agree with that. What was missing, and I thought you would have included, member, is also the idea of where the voters stand, because at some polling location, some persons interpret it as the voters needing to stand outside the compound, while others interpret it as standing close to the polling station. And what that means is that if you have 5, 6 polling stations in a compound, 2 of the 5 might have nobody in there, but a long line is outside, yes, with individuals, and you're not allowing now persons for all of the stations to come in. I would have loved to see that included. Let me tell you why I am very hesitant, and in fact, I am not willing to support the movement of the outdoor agents closer inside, because the outdoor agents do interact with voters. And I would fear closer to the voting station, the polling station, where voting is going to take place, that we might have fierce competition between the outdoor agents interacting with the voters. And I see that as being problematic. And so on that count, I do not support that motion either. I will leave the others 5. Motion 5. I want to start by commending the progress that we have made and agreeing to date in terms of creating an atmosphere of a free and fair election and free from fear. And this has been done, in truth, by both parties working really hard together. As I said earlier, and I really do believe it, so I'm going to have to say it, that I believe that some of what has happened in more recent times has damaged the trust. Yes? It has damaged the trust. And I say that, and I put it on record here. Mr. Speaker, we cannot disregard the concern around the system could be, or where the system allows for partisan behavior. Yes? I know that the rules of the EOJ requires that individuals who are politically affiliated do not become workers for the EOJ, which I support wholeheartedly. And so when individuals come to me and said, oh, you know, MP, I went down and they said A, B, C, and D, I said, you know, they are correct. But it is alarming, Mr. Speaker, as to the level of partisan pro-JLP behavior by some of the key members and workers of the EOJ on election day. Yes? And so that should be a matter of concern. And it therefore suggests, in my view, that the JLP is getting a deliberate pass for some of that. And this is leading to why I'm taking the position that I will. In 2025, we saw some deliberate slowing down of the votes in areas. Some persons suggest that it could actually be deliberate sabotage. I don't have the data, I don't have that, but it's something that we cannot ignore. Key persons, we actually saw, and members have documented key persons, key members affiliated with the government using their connections and their authority to direct what happens in a polling station using their usual bullying approach. Yes? Yes, yes, yes. All of what I have said earlier, Mr. Speaker, makes it clear to me that the suggestion of allowing a presiding officer to present a ballot without removing the counterfoil when the voter brings it back, yes, allowing that counterfoil to be removed and counted, for me, presents clear and present danger. And I'll tell you why. No, and I'm going to tell you why. I am going to add to that the issue of the special, yes, it's seven motions about. Let me tell you why I'm concerned about that. I would hate to see special ballots being in the hands of individuals who go into a polling station, yes, and get back to the presiding officer now to be dropped in the ballot. And all that needs to happen is to remove the counterfoil and to put it in the ballot box. No. So what that means, Mr. Speaker, anything for me that allows for a manipulation, yes, of the ballot, the marking of the ballot, and all of that, for me, is a no-no. Because where there are issues, instead of insisting on a proper public education campaign, that therefore puts the voter, the partisan workers, yeah, the party workers, the EOJ workers, to guarantee that before the ballot is given, yes, yeah, that the counterfoil is removed, or that the correct pencils are in the stations to be used. What we do is find ways around it, and I believe that that is a dangerous precedent and a wrong way to go. And so, again, I would want to say that that motion does not have my support. I move to motion 7. I like the idea of a motion to look at the qualification of persons to run for the Houses of Parliament. Motion 7. I like that idea. And I'm pleased that it comes at this point because we have just completed an election campaign and it's fresh in our minds. But when I look, when I look at the discrepancy between the voting age of 18 and the age at which someone can run for candidates, one being 18, one being 21, I agree that that anomaly could do with some change. And I agree with making them both 18. And I think that that is a good suggestion. Mr. Speaker, when I look at the other provisions for persons, and I look at the being a Commonwealth citizen, ordinary resident in Jamaica for 12 months prior, I said to myself, and I'm sure that all Jamaicans will agree with me and would insist on those as being two important qualifications for anyone to run for the House of Representatives. So I agree with that wholeheartedly, and I like that. Like me, however, I am thinking of the many other Jamaicans who are also clear that these are important provisions, but who might be trying to square that with the brutal campaign that we saw being waged. And what am I talking about? When individuals in this very house presented candidates who were either Israeli citizens, US citizens, yes, born in England, yes, knowing and agreeing on the two major qualifications, none of which they would have violated. So we are good. But what they have done with a brave face of hypocrisy is to stand on that and turn around and look at someone that they know very well, went to school in Jamaica, went to school with many of them, born here, not even his birth certificate as Jamaican was able to staunch the criticism from those hypocrites who were putting forward candidates who were in the same position, if not worse. In fact, worse is, in fact, that member who is shown allegiance to the US, but sat in this parliament, yes, with the cover of the hypocrisy from her colleagues. And then you have the effrontery, to present before us this motion number 7, as if you really have it at heart, the real protecting the Constitution and protecting Jamaica. Rubbish. And I am saying that those individuals who support motion 7 or who bring this motion to us, them should have burned in fire and burned in hell.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to comment on these motions that have been put before us. And I want to start, Mr. Speaker, by going back to a principle that...
Is there a motion in particular that you're speaking to, or just general?
All of them. Right. So, Mr. Speaker, these are very important matters that have been brought for our consideration and approval. But I want to go back to a fundamental principle that has guided us through a period of tremendous turbulence to one where today we accept free and fair elections as a given. And that process has been assisted, umpired under the umbrella of the ECJ, the Electoral Commission of Jamaica. And as a parliament, we have been very careful not to proceed with anything that will affect that law, the Representation of the People's Act, which is properly administered by the ECJ, without getting them involved, without consultation, without seeking their input. And it is for good reason. Firstly, both our parties are represented at the ECJ. The ECJ does command the respect, and it is not seen to be a part of the cut and thrust of our political living, of our political living. And, Mr. Speaker, I would be loath to proceed to approve these motions, and some of them are very important and fundamental, without hearing, firstly, the considered input of the ECJ. And I will urge this House to defer these matters, all of them, to enable the ECJ to reflect on them, to come back to us, and as we have always done, to accept their recommendations without question. And I want to put that to this House as a response, an appropriate response to the motions that are before us. And I so put, Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Member from St. Mary's Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to speak on motion number 1 in support of it. Mr. Speaker, I believe motion 1 seeks to cure a major injustice. As a member of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, I sometimes have a major challenge explaining to constituents who live in housing schemes that have been developed for many years, and the roads are in a state of disrepair. And those roads have no owner within the government, Mr. Speaker. You can't tell them that Works Agency can respond. You can't tell them that the municipal corporation, it's not RADA. It's a bastard road, no father, no owner. Even notwithstanding the status of that bastard that still exists. I think, Mr. Speaker, I would want to go a little further. I think the government, the motion should also call on the government or ask the government to put a lien on a certain percentage of the properties in new developments. I tell you why, member. When somebody lives in a community and they're paying property tax, which they're told is supposed to take care of some of the infrastructure, and they live in a community which is a subdivision which is approved, or a scheme that is approved by the government and approved by the local authority, and they buy it with that confidence that it has the approval of their government and their local authorities. It's a wickedness to tell them that government can't touch their road and can't address their infrastructure when it is in a state of disrepair. And so I'm wondering whether the member would be open to amending the motion to also, instead of just handing over the roadway to the local authority and putting the can over to the local authority, when these developers would have, as a condition of doing the development, would have undertaken to do the development of the roads. Right, so the roads would need to be handed over in a particular condition that is acceptable to the local authority. So I'm wondering whether we shouldn't be asking that a lien be put on a certain number, it's there now, on a certain number of the properties so that it can be liquidated so residents don't have to carry the bag when these roads fall in disrepair or when the local authority is not prepared to take it over. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I want to briefly speak to two of the motions. The first being the second motion having to do with the ROPA. And in this regard, the suggestion by the motion that we change the way that someone votes is welcomed and probably long overdue. We do have a large segment of our community, of our society, who believe an X indicates wrong. And so for that reason, as simple as it sounds, do not engage in the voting process. And so I welcome that aspect of the motion. As the other member said previously in her contribution, I would want us to give consideration to the implement which is used, because this can be a security feature in the voting process, but also to restrict the kinds of marks that would be accepted instead of making it open to any mark. There are marks which are positive, and people might find that more acceptable as a way of indicating their vote. So with those two suggestions, I am in support of the motion. Motion 6, which has to do with the voters list. Again, in support with a couple suggestions for consideration in terms of changes. The links between the different agencies that have custody of data. I think we should have a conversation, or if the motion can facilitate us ensuring that there's a stronger linkage among these agencies, namely the RGD, the EOJ. I mention this, Mr. Speaker, because what that would mean is that the verification process, the process of removing those who've passed on or who have migrated from the voters list, would be almost, well, easier, not automatic, but certainly easier than it is now, but controlled by these agencies once you have, for example, proof of death, and that can be done without having to revert to the local EOJ office. The other aspect of this, which I think is important to look at, is making the re-verification process, having a required time frame for the re-verification process. So at the moment, we do not have an established time frame, and I think a periodic review, 10, 15 years might be, we link it to the census, would be one way to go, just to ensure that we're not back here in 10 years saying we need money for re-verification. And so, again, with these two suggestions for consideration, I would support the motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member from Portland Eastern.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
Say that I certainly cannot support.
Member from West Central, St. James. Right, thanks. Go ahead.
Cannot support motion 4. I don't think as a country we are here to, we are there yet. Jamaica, as it is a two-society Jamaica. The reality is that crime is so high, it's hard at sometimes to regulate. Whenever the night comes, many things can happen. To protect the integrity of the electoral process and increase even by 1 hour would be dangerous. We should look or try to consider, especially the geographical locations of some areas, whether it could at all, even with the advancements in technology, support an increase in the voting hour. As it is right now, the integrity of the voting process, the containment, the best way to contain is the time constraints. There are many other things that can be considered in terms of how ROPA, with an amendment, can regulate how the private sector treats with the ability of voters to get the time to actually go and vote without fear of intimidation or loss of income or whatever it is that would prevent them from participating in the process. But one of the greatest ways to protect the integrity of the process is to be in keeping with the time in our current state. Now, even as this bill is intended, or this motion is intended to increase the time without the technology being implemented across all constituencies and in all polling stations. In the last election, and using the data and using experience and the information, there are polling stations that don't even have light, and it was still used. And we do have information. I can speak in relation to Portland Eastern. There were polling stations that were allowed to stay beyond the 5 p.m. time. And what happened during that time, the integrity of the voting process was compromised. Not the last election. That is exact, at 5. But to increase it at 6, and we're dealing with the time, and we're dealing with how the sun rises and how the sun sets, and that's something that we have to look at. And so we're talking about all of those things when we think about the integrity, right? And I don't need to coin a term, but to say that the thieves come out at night, right? And people need to understand that. I could direct that to you as well, but you haven't said that on record. But while it is that we must, when considering the electoral process, to ensure that voters and the voting process is not compromised and persons are disenfranchised, time constraints is also important given the reality of Jamaica. So I just simply, in relation to motion 4, to say that I would invite this House to also reject the increase in time. I do support you on motion 1 in its entirety. Thank you.
Member from West Central, St. James. No, she was before. Why are you shouting?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Seeking permission to speak from a seat other than my own. I rise to make my contribution to the various motions moved by the honourable member from St. Catherine Southwest. Mr. Speaker, in respect of motion number 1, the problem identified in the motion, I think, is one that practically all of us here are acquainted with. I put on record my support for either a single road authority or at minimum a dual road authority separating the toll roads from the other roads. But what we have now is almost a complete nightmare. We have the toll authority responsible for the toll roads, the National Works Agency responsible for the main roads, the local authorities through the municipal corporations or other municipalities responsible for community roads, and the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries responsible for farm roads. Then we have private roads, and we have all kinds of other categories, and a host of roads that no one has taken responsibility for. So the problem is a real problem. But at this time, Mr. Speaker, I believe that it requires more than what the member is asking for to bring a meaningful solution to the problem. In respect of motion number 2, the issue of the implement is a matter that the courts have pronounced on. And I believe that the wisdom behind the black lead pencil is one that remains true today, because any implement, the use of any implement may prevent a detection of voter fraud. And so I would recommend to the member that the motion be amended to delete the first resolution And in respect of the second resolution, I would ask for the members' consideration to amend it for the amendment to ascertain the intention of the voter and not simply that any mark on the ballot be used. Because this is an issue that the courts have also pronounced on and has drawn a distinction between marks that make a mockery of the electoral and democratic system. But I believe, Mr. Speaker, in a population where X means wrong and a tick means yes, and given the level of literacy, and also the fact that different presiding officers take inconsistent positions on 2 X's, 3 X's when the intention of the voter is clear, I think the time has come for the legislation to be amended to ensure that in counting the ballots, or inspecting the vote, that you ascertain the intention of the voter. In respect of motion number 6, asking for a re-verification of the list and the provision of funds to do so, I support it. I think that I question whether the list truly reflects what obtains in accordance with different aspects of the electoral laws. Moving to motion 7. This motion addresses a number of complex issues. Section 39 of the Constitution is a deeply entrenched provision. If you look at section 49, subsection 3b, you will see that section 39 is one of the listed provisions, and it cannot be amended by simple majority or even by a superior majority. Ultimately, it will require a referendum, the approval of the electorate. The motion is also asking for a deletion of the provision dealing with conflicted allegiance in the Constitution. I believe it would be a wrong move at this time. With wars and rumors of wars, parliaments increasingly will have to take decisions, and it is important that members of parliament have no conflicted allegiance when they have to make decisions between different countries. I would recommend to my friend that this motion be withdrawn.
North Central.
Member from North Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would only like to speak to one of the motions, and that is motion number 1. Mr. Speaker, I am in full support of this motion, especially where there is an entire section of the constituency I represent, which was inherited from Central St. Catherine, not calling the name though, where all of the roads in every single scheme is bad. And in 2026, where we have tax-paying citizens who would have made tremendous sacrifice to purchase homes, to expand those homes, and to make sure that they form community groups and have neighborhood watches and strong community unions, they have to be wearing one shoes to come out of the road. When they reach out the main road, they have to put on another shoes to go into the taxi to go to work in 2026. I am most distraught for the people of Lakemore, Villemore, Strathmore Gardens, Avon Park, Monticello. I am very, very distraught because them is more than bastard children. They are forgotten and have been forgotten for decades. And I am afraid that I don't make the excuse that the road does not belong to this one or that one. I refuse to tell anybody that when I ask them to make me their representative. I believe we have a responsibility here. It doesn't matter which authority you're talking about. The municipal corporation must deal with municipal roads because we must have that kind of flexibility. And we can tell you there was a REACH program in this house that took forever because the National Works Agency certainly just did not have the capacity to be able to manage all of what needs to be done. So we don't need to be eliminating another authority to be able to assist with the process of getting these roads repaired. Another matter, Mr. Speaker, relates to the debushing of unoccupied lots in these housing schemes as well. They buy the lots, they go overseas, and it is overgrown, and it attracts rodents, it attracts criminals, it even attracts crocodile. In Strathmore Gardens, there was a crocodile in the bush on a lot, and we had to be calling NEPA to assist, and I'm simply saying this is the road on which there are 2 children's homes, right? So we are at a place now where, the member from Southwest, you know how passionate I feel about this one. We have a responsibility to the people in the housing schemes who continue to make the sacrifice to do what we ask them to do, to work hard and buy a little piece of this rock named Jamaica. And then when they do so, they have to be hiding because they're not proud of where they live. They're demotivated. It is depreciating the value of their homes as well. Nobody no want to buy no house down there, so, because of no taxis will go on those roads anyway. So they must walk from the entrance to their homes. It is time really come for true to make sure. Remember, I support you 150%. I'm also thinking that we need to attach a caveat to them people, when them go to the tax office, they must pay. If they're not paying to maintain these lots, we must cut those lots, attach the money to it, and make them pay it. Every time you pay your tax, you must pay for the maintenance of your lot. And if you don't do that, then we have other sanctions, right? And I'm simply saying, but we have to make it law, so that it is not incumbent on any discretionary power of any municipality. No, the law doesn't state that you can put a caveat. You cannot. You cannot. So I'm suggesting that we need to move a foot further. Instead of just saying simply, let us do better. Let us put the things in place to get the better done.
Mr. Speaker.
Just, I won't be long. I know you're anxious to wrap up. Just to say, I too support the first motion. I think it's absolutely horrendous when you go to these schemes and see the roads which have essentially been abandoned by all authorities, and people pay their money, pay off mortgages, they're in the schemes, and they can't rely on any authority to maintain those roads. And I've seen it over and over again in several different parts of Jamaica. So I support that motion. I would also say that I think the argument was made, well, the authorities should only have to take it over if the roads have been built by the developer. But at the end of the day, who suffers are the residents. And the risk should be borne by the authorities, not by the residents, because the authorities can put in place laws and measures and conditions to ensure that the developer does what they're supposed to do. So the owners should be shifted to the authority and taken off of the residents. So I support that. The only thing is a small point. I was saying that in the motion, in the last prayer, it speaks to these roads being transferred to local government, KSAC, which no longer exists, it's KSAMC, but that's, and any other local authority, including, but not limited to the National Works Agency. And I was just making the point, National Works Agency is not a local authority. So the way that's worded is a little inelegant and inaccurate, but it can be fixed. On the other motions to do with the Representation of the People's Act, I endorse what the Leader of Opposition Business in the House has said. I think the House should not rush to come to a conclusion on amendments to ROPA without the considered input of the ECJ and the staff who are responsible for elections. That is a tradition. And speaking for myself, these technical matters, I would not want to vote in favor of something that I may not have considered all the relevant factors and end up having been told that we've supported something that is unworkable or is inappropriate or that we ought to have voted against. So I would love to see this being sent elsewhere to the ECJ specifically for their comments before we take any position on these resolutions to do with the ROPA, the Representation of the People Act. And I wouldn't want our side to vote in favor of motions which have not had that opportunity, because we've been endorsing a procedure which I think is flawed and is inconsistent with a good tradition that has been built up over many years in this Parliament. In relation to the last one, which I think is to do a constitutional amendment, it has very far-reaching implications. It's essentially eliminating the restriction on dual citizenship for membership of the Parliament. And I do think that the public has strong views on this, and I believe that we should have a process before, again, the Parliament rushes into that kind of thing. So I would support what the member for West Central St. James has suggested in relation to that last motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank the members for their input in the debate on these private members' motion. But the member from Southwest St. Andrew raised some issues that she believes political consideration or what have you. Let me make it clear. When I brought these private members' motion, I did not consider anything that had to do with politics. And the motions were not laid in any sense to benefit me in the way at all. Because if these amendments are made, it won't affect me because I won't be contesting again. So I'm doing this. Take my word this time. Take my word this time. So I'm doing this for the future. And having won 8 elections so far, I know what the situation is and what affects our candidates and the electoral process. And this is why I brought this stuff. Mr. Speaker, as it relates to private members' motion 1, the member mentioned the Single Road Authority and the rest of it. But this is a different issue from the Single Road Authority. What I want is for the authority to take responsibilities for the infrastructures in housing scheme where you have citizens who have paid money, bought their units, and still nobody is responsible for them. So that's all I'm asking for. As it relates to the Single Road Authority, then I'll come back with another motion for that. But I'm asking for the government to make sure that the issue of responsibility is taken over. So I just want to, as the lead opposition mentioned, the National Works Agency not being a local authority, I just want to mention, as I say, or any other local authority, as well as the National Works Agency, to make that amendment to number 1, to the prior itself for motion number 1. Number 2, the member mentioned the issue of using different implements apart from the black lead pencil. I accept her suggestion there. And I would want to delete the priors in private members motion number 2 and substitute as such. Be it resolved that the relevant provision of the ROPA be amended to enable the intention of the voter to be ascertained instead of mandatory that the voter shall mark an X beside the candidate's name. So I'm asking here for intent, but to remove the issue of any implement. So I'm asking for amendment to delete those two priors and to replace it, substitute it as such. As it relates to number 3, she mentioned that it was not mentioned as to where, as it relates to the voters, where they should stay. That can be dealt with later on. But I'm asking now that the outdoor agents that are stipulated by 41A subsection 1, they're by law. So you should have the one-day police or the security force about this time you have to stay down the road. If they are provided for as the indoor agent in ROPA, then they should be recognized as such and should be at a place where they can carry the responsibilities effectively than having a one-day police and the security force telling go down the road. There are times when you have the one-day police or the security force are political and they take political actions. Allow the people or the person appointed by the candidate to carry the responsibility on part of the candidate. This is why I'm asking that for this one, be it resolved that in the case return officers, election workers and what have you, that there be less than the 200 yards from the polling stations so they can effectively carry out the responsibility. That's all I'm asking for. 4, the member from Eastern Portland mentioned that they shouldn't change the hour to additional hour because thief walk at night. Thief walk at day too. Thief walk at morning. It don't matter the time. If people want to thief, then go and thief. You can't tell a thief not to thief. Thank you. So I wouldn't say use that. The issue that some of us have urban section of our constituencies. And even though there are requirements for employers to allow workers time off to vote, how much hours? 2 hours? 3. Many times, the employees do not allow the employees so to do. And there are areas like in Southwest St. Catherine, people work in Kingston. And after work, they cannot leave their job in time to reach Old Harbour or Bartons to cast the ballots. That's the only reason I asked for an additional hour. So that every elector will have the opportunity to cast their votes. Because you can't ask the worker to walk off the job to go vote. And tomorrow morning, the employer say you don't have a job. But give them the opportunity so to do. And that's the only reason why I asked for an additional hour for them. I'm asked for an additional hour. And you have maybe 1,000 people come and vote against me. And if we close at 5, I would have won. So that's not the case, right? I didn't think of that. It's just to give the electors the opportunity to go and cast the ballots. And don't restrict them at all. 5, the member mentioned the issue of the counterfoil. All I'm saying here is not any hanky-panky and political stuff. There are presiding officers who made the error of not removing the counterfoil and putting the box. But the section of the ROPA states that in the course of counting the ballots, if the counterfoil is intact, to remove it and count the ballots. So I'm saying there are times when the presiding officer remove the counterfoil and it's torn not along the perforated line but above or below. And you have cases where those ballots are rejected. It's not the fault of the elector that the presiding officer did not make a clean removal. And there are cases in which the perforation was not done correctly. So it caused the ballot to be torn above or below. So once it is removed above or below, it should be counted, just as the presiding officer has the right to remove it at the time of counting. So I'm saying whether it's removed above or below the perforated line, it should be a proper ballot. That's what I'm asking for. 6. Which one? This is one I'm asking that Motion number 6 is the issue of re-verification and renumeration of voters. We have a whole lot of some huge voters list per constituencies. And then they talk the issue of the number of voters, apathy, and those things. And that's nonsense. Do not reflect the true number of votes. So what I ask for here is that we call on the government to provide the necessary funds to have a complete remuneration of electors in this country. So we can have an understanding of the persons that we have. That's all I'm asking for. And I go further, that we just don't ask for it, that we have it done early before we face the next election. Mr. Speaker, as far as service is concerned, it's far-reaching, and it would require serious amendment to the Constitution. It would need an referendum to have this amended. So I'm therefore withdrawing private members' motion number 7. Mr. Speaker, you're not hearing me say no? I am saying, based on the far-reaching effect of number 7, what I understand would require a referendum to amend this section of the Constitution. I'm withdrawing section number 7, the resolution number 7, private members number 7, based on the suggestion from the member from St. James. No, she never said that. Mr. Speaker, I ask that you put private members number 1.
All right, so Mr. Speaker, the amendments, I know the member made some amendments to the motion, which that would have to be noted so that that could be put motion as amended, right? Just to provide some clarity to the members, if the motions are carried, the motions then proceed to a committee of the House. And the committees which the motions refer to will then decide on the appropriateness of the motion to be forwarded to make policy changes. So voting for the motions here move them to the committee stage. Just to be clear, it doesn't automatically. So in the case based on the advice from the House, in the case of motion 1, it goes to the infrastructure committee. In the case of motion 2 to 6, it would go, no, 7 has been withdrawn. In the case of motion 2 to 6, it would go to the Human Resources Committee, Social and Human Resources Committee. I also made the point that that I think we agree, and I said it to the leader of opposition business, that if the motions are put to the committee, then they would have to get, as the leader of opposition has also asked for, the feedback and input from the electoral. I'm just creating a context. Feedback from the electoral office of Jamaica. The leader of opposition business has stated that he would rather that we hear from the ECJ before voting on the motion, as he indicated. So I'm just, for completeness, advising the House. So
may I say that the role of the ECJ will not be affected in this regard itself. What have all of these private members' motion, they have been to the House before and have gone through the process, through committee, and went to cabinet. At cabinet, then there have been discussion between the Electoral Commission and cabinet as to implementation and what have you. It has gone through all of the committee. But all of these motions I brought them here before. I brought them under your government and under this government. I brought them here before. Everyone has been brought here. But new parliament, it was not concluded then. That's why I brought my new parliament. They were not dealt with completely. That's why I was advised to bring them back here to go through the process again. So I'm asking Mr. Speaker for the approval of private members' motion number 1 with the amendment removing, including, but not limited to National Works Agency.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the question I have to ask is whether or not to do what you're asking us to do, to send it to committee.
Yes, we're going to committee.
Now, hold on, man, hold on. If the motions themselves should not be amended to include that as one of the prayers.
No, it's here. Yes, I'm going to do that. I have them here. The amendments?
No, that amendment that it be sent to committee.
No,
you have that? They have to tell me that. You can't just drag me behind you like that. That's not the thing
you
about.
Give me a chance because I hadn't completed. I just said a while ago to delete, including but not limited to, and say as well as the National Works Agency. And then if it's approved, then I ask that it go to committee. It's only after approval I can ask to amendment. Actually now, Mr. Speaker asks that the motion be amended as follows. Number 1, private members' motion number 1 and the other paper be amended by inserting the following as the third prior. And be it further resolved that the Honourable House refer this motion to the Infrastructure and Physical Development Committee for consideration and report. Angela, you agree with that? No, that's why I meant to put the prior here now. You agree now, you accept that, Jennifer? Angela? The others?
Yes.
Yeah. And for 2, Mr. Speaker, for 2, I delete the priors and substitute thereof. Be it resolved that the relevant provision of the ROPA be amended to enable the intention of the voter to be ascertained instead of mandatory that the voter shall mark a X mandate beside the candidate of his choice. Number 3, be it resolved that 41A, subsection 1 Representative of the People Act, be amended to allow the person appointed by the candidate as an agent to be within a precinct of and closer to 20 yards to the polling station, as now specified, so that the agent will be able to carry out the duties for which the agents were appointed. 4, be it resolved that Section 33 of the Representation of the People Act be amended, allowing time for polling on an election day to be between the hours of 7 in the forenoon and 6 in the afternoon. And 5,
On a point of order, Mr. Speaker, the proposal of the motions is actually going through all the motions. We are suggesting that as one is not in dispute,
yes,
that we could take that one.
Thank you.
That we could take those that refer to ROPA and the amendments, of course.
Yes.
Those that relate to ROPA be taken separately.
Yes.
And of course, 7 has been withdrawn.
Yes, yes. That's my intent. That's my intention. So, yeah? So, Mr. Speaker, I ask for private member motion number 1 to be, as amended, to be approved.
The question is that private motion number 1 be amended as...
Just a point of clarification, Mr. Speaker. We had made 2 recommendations, one of which the member had, in a sort of voice comment, said he had included in the amendment. But when he just read the amendments, I didn't hear that amendment, which is that a lien be placed...
For which one of the motion?
Motion 1. Motion 1.
What amendment was?
That a lien be placed on a certain percentage of the property, which in the event... Because what the motion is doing, Mr. Speaker, it's not really holding the developer accountable. And so the proposal was that a lien be placed on a certain number of the properties at the local authority level.
This, my brother, this
even so.
No, it requires different set of thing. What I'm doing here, I'm dealing with the responsibility of the government. As it stands now, the local authority place a lien or whatever you on the properties now. And the developers have to make available funds, large funds with the local authorities. That is used for at least 2 years. That any defect within that 2 years period is used to correct those defects. So I'm saying the title, when the first title is issued, then it's the responsibility of government to take over those the infrastructure. That's what I'm saying. But there are funds there to take care of those repairs. So I don't think you need any amendment here for that. Because funds are there for that. Funds are there for that. And you know, you are a parish council, was a council, you know that. So I'm asking that we take one. Yeah, man, the funds are there. No, I am telling you, hold on, member, I am telling you. No, I'm telling you because funds are there and I know of it. Look here, as it relates to lien, that has to be dealt with by the local authority. Not to relate to lien, that's with the local authority. No, the lots and so those are local authority because St. Thomas is the first parish council to have instituted that. St. Thomas is the first one to have done that.
Member, here is a suggestion. Do you think we need to take a 5-minute break?
No.
You
no,
don't?
there's not. Just finish on. We don't have that much agreement. I just ask for approval of number 1 with the amendment.
No, because...
Just take up number 1 and move on, man.
Moving on motion 1. Yes. So the question is that motion 1, as it is amended, as stated, those in favor, be approved. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
So, Madam, no? 2 to 6? I've gone through them, only 6 are left now to deal with. I've prevented all the others, only 6 now for me to do. As I said before, Mr. Speaker, I'm withdrawing number 7, based on the constitutional issue here. And 6, as I said, be it resolved that the government immediately provide the funds necessary for electoral officers to Jamaica to embark on a total re-verification and enumeration of voters in this country. Number 6. Mr. Speaker, I'm asking for the amendment of private member motion 2 to 6 on the other paper. So, each be amended by inserting following at the final prior, and be it further resolved that the Honourable House refer these motion to Human Resources and Social Development Committee for consideration and report.
The request is on the floor. Those in favor?
Aye.
Which
one may I support? Divide. Take them from 1, from 2.
So are we going to take number 6? Remember, just let me get it clear. Are you asking that 2 to 6 be amended?
No. I brought the amendments separately. What I'm saying now, there's no.
So there's
no
a divide
on 6.
There's
so
a
we can just
divide
take
on,
6.
on 2 to 5.
Yeah, we can just take 6.
I would take 6.
And you have to divide from 2 to 5.
All right. So the motion number 6, as it is amended, be approved. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Ayes have it. On 2 to 5. Clark. Two to 5 is the divide. There is a divide on 2 to 5. So we have to go to a vote. All right, Clark? On each. Take them one by one.
All right, so with respect to private members' motion number
Members, listen carefully.
With respect to private members' motion number 2, this is the vote. Mr. Azan, Mr. Bartlett, Mr. Brown, Dr. Brown Burke, Mr. Buchanan, Mr. Bunting, Ms. Burchell, Dr. Campbell,
Clark.
Mr. Azan.
Members, if you remain quiet, we will hear the names called and we will know exactly who is answering. Allow the deputy clerk to call the names and person answer yea or nay.
All right, respect to private members' motion number 2 on the order paper. Mr. Azan, Mr. Bartlett, Mr. Brown, Dr. Brown Burke, Mr. Buchanan, Mr. Bunting, Ms. Burchell, Dr. Campbell, Dr. Chang, Mr. Charles Jr., Mr. Chuck, Mr. Cousins, Mr. Crawford, Mrs. Cuthbert Flynn, Miss Daly, Mrs. Dalrymple Filbert, Dr. Dawes, Mr. Golden, Mr. Gordon, Miss Grange, Mr. Green, Miss Hamilton, Mr. Hales, Mr. Hines, Dr. Holness, Mr. Hilton, Mr. Jackson, Miss Jess, Mrs. Malahoo Fort, Ambassador Marks, Miss Lee, Mr. Main, Mr. Mackenzie, Mrs. Miller Bennett, Mr. Montague, Mr. Morgan, Mr. Morris, Ms. Morrison, Mrs. Nita Garvey, Mr. Newell, Mr. Paulwell, Mr. Phillips, Ms. Perkis, Mr. Robertson, Mr. Robinson, Dr. Russell, Mr. Samuda, Mr. Seabright, Miss Shaw, Miss Shaw, okay. Mr. Smith, Mr. Terrelong, Dr. Tufton, Mr. Vaz, Daryl Vaz, Mr. Dwayne Vaz, Mr. Warmington, Dr. Wheatley, Mr. Williams Delroy, Mr. Williams Donovan, Mrs. Williams, and Mr. Witter. Ms. Crawford.
The suggestion is if you put specifically that you are asking us to vote on motion 3, 4, and 5 and call the members' names, then the votes will be for each motion as indicated. So if you could proceed that way.
All right, concerning private members' motions 3 to 5 on the order paper, Mr. Azan, Mr. Bartlett, Mr. Brown, Dr. Brown Burke, Mr. Buchanan, Mr. Bunting, Ms. Burchell, Dr. Campbell, Dr. Chang, Mr. Charles Jr., Mr. Chuck, Mr. Clark, no sir, Mr. Cousins, Mr. Crawford, Miss Crawford, Miss Crawford, Mrs. Cuthbert Flynn, Miss Daly, Mrs. Dalrymple Philibert, Dr. Dawes, Mr. Golden, Mr. Gordon, Miss Grange, Miss Grange, Miss Grange, Mr. Green, Miss Hamilton, Mr. Hales, Mr. Hines, Dr. Holness, Mr. Hilton, Mr. Jackson, Miss Jess, Miss Lee, Mrs. Malahoo Fort, Ambassador Marks, Mr. Main, Mr. Mackenzie, Mrs. Miller Bennett, Mr. Montague, Mr. Morgan, Mr. Morris, Ms. Morrison, Mrs. Nita Garvey, Mr. Newell, Mr. Paulwell, Mr. Phillips, Ms. Perkis, Mr. Robertson, Mr. Robinson, Dr. Russell, Mr. Samuda, Mr. Seawright, Ms. Shaw, no, Ms. Shaw, Mr. Smith, Mr. Terrelong, Dr. Tufton, Mr. Vaz Daryl, Mr. Vaz Dwayne, Mr. Warmington, Dr. Wheatley, Mr. Williams Delroy, Mr. Williams Donovan, Mrs. Williams, and Mr. Witter. Miss Jess. What's that? Miss Jess. Here.
Members, the results for private motion, members motion 2, 24 ayes, 18 noes, and 18 absent. The ayes of it. For private members' motions 3 to 5, 24 yes, 19 noes, and 17 absents.
Mr. Speaker, it is not intended to do any further business. Today, we ask that the House be adjourned for a date to be set. To be fixed.
As it is requested, there is no intention for further business. Those in favor? Those against? This House now stands adjourned.
Welcome back, guys. Hope you have watched that full clip. Now, there's a video I did about McGolding crashing in Parliament with the Jamaica PM Andrew Holness. So, I read some of your comments. You guys were saying that McGolding should let the PM do his work. McGolding should let the PM, try and change Jamaica because he is in control now. He is the Prime Minister now. So, he should accept and let the Prime Minister do his work. So you guys were on toes with him because you did not like how he was trying, to question the PM of Jamaica. But at some point the opposition parties also help a lot. They help the country a lot because there are some things that they will be doing in Parliament that will hurt the people, but you guys will not have, the energy or the ability to try and control that. So the opposition party, at sometimes you may say that they are maybe, they don't like the idea of the other party maybe controlling, but at some point they always help the country so much. So you have seen this heated debate between the PNP and the JLP. One thing that I know the PNP did not like is the idea of, the wife of the Prime Minister being appointed as the Speaker of the House. Since that happened, these people have not been in good times with the JLP because how comes the wife controls the Parliament and they are the opposition? How will they be able, to air their views or try to correct what the PM is doing? Because the opposition party will always be correcting, they will always be speaking, they will always be talking, trying to make sure that they prove to the world, they prove to the people that the other party is not working well. At some point, they always do that. But to some extent, they help the people so much. Now, look at what Corona did to, not the Corona, look at what Hurricane Melissa did in Jamaica. There was a lot of destruction. Some parts of Jamaica, they even don't have electricity. Some parts of Jamaica, the children are not even going to school. So, when it comes to such matters, the PNP will obviously come out to try and find answers. What is the government doing to make sure that these places are fully fixed? What is the government doing to make sure that the whole of Jamaica has electricity, children are going to school as usual? I remember Damian Crawford tried, to question this thing, like how many children were affected during this time, how many have gone to school, how many schools has the government constructed so far? Because we all know the government received money from different countries. The government received help, good money that can help change Jamaica. So the PNP is just on toast with the government, trying to make sure that they know how this money has been used, what the things that the government are putting in place to make sure that Jamaica is ongoing and Jamaica is best once again. That's why the opposition will always be doing that, trying to make sure that they correct the sitting party, proving to the people that they are better than them. And that's why you have seen in that heated debate, they are demanding answers from the JLP party because they are not satisfied with how JLP party is running the parliament, the government. They are not impressed. They don't like how, things have been, people have been talking, people have been saying things that, the money that was received during the Hurricane Melissa, it seems that this money, they are saying that the JLP party that is responsible for that money, that money is not doing what it was intended to do. So the PNP party is trying to follow up on everything that the government is doing, trying to make sure that the people of Jamaica are getting their rights at some point. On the other hand, also, they might not be, they're like, they should let also the sitting government try and fix Jamaica because they are the ones in control. They're the ones who are now taking care of everything in Jamaica. So I don't know what you guys have to say about this heated debate between the PNPs and the JLP. But one thing I know is that McGolding is very, very on toast with the PM of Jamaica. If you saw that debate, then you will know more because he's not going to sit there and see the PM not run Jamaica according to the will of the people. The PNP just want, the JLP to run the system according to the will of the people. I'm sure at this point they're trying to get credit so that when they are in control the next time, they will get the voters they want. So big up once again. Thank you for watching this video. In the comment section, tell me what you think about this heated debate between these two opposition parties. So big up once again. Until my next video, peace out.